Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. March 5th, 2019. Case number 0519-429 Neponset Street. Request for an extension. The only question, what was the first day we had this when we granted the extension? Was it
September 11th. we granted
September
the
11th?
extension.
Okay. All right.
December 11th.
All right, there is, before I get into you guys presenting the cases, there's one letter, I don't know if you got a copy of it, from the conservation agent in town. So I'm just gonna read that for the record. I have your letter as well. If you want, I can read it into the record, or you can just be comfortable with the fact that we all have a copy of it.
We're comfortable with it,
Okay.
the fact that you have a copy of it.
All right, and I'll get you a copy of this as well.
I've been provided a copy already, thank you.
This one from Al.
Oh.
All right. So just for the record, dear Acting Chairman Brady, during the October 3rd, 2018 meeting, the Conservation Commission voted to issue an order of conditions for this project. There was a subsequent correction of a typo on page 2, which was forwarded to the applicant in early December. The commission has no further records of appeal or request to review or change the order of conditions due to, quote, incorrect information, unquote, or, quote, again, certain conditions, unquote, to enter upon the land owned by third parties to clear wetlands, specifically outside of Mr. Robichaux's property, of unnatural debris. There also has been no attempt by Mr. Robichaud to reach out to the commission to receive advice on whether to proceed under the incorrect order of condition or raise any concern in relation to these issues. In regards to directing clearing of the wetlands on a third-party lands, nowhere does the OOC require work on other owners' property. The order is specific to the plan provided in the filing. The only exception would be when soils or slit are tracked onto a public way. As of this time, the Conservation Commission considers all orders of conditions, permits, state and town, to be in full effect. Any questions, et cetera, et cetera. That's signed by Mr. Al Getz, the conservation agent. So with that, we will deem the hearing open, and the floor is yours. Ma'am, if you just introduce yourself for the record.
For the record, my name is Carrie Angus. I am an attorney representing Mr. Robichaud in this matter. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak with you today. I think everyone is trying to get to the same conclusion here. We want to finish this project. This project has been long and outstanding, and it seems we're kind of in this final stage at this point. We've got a couple more things that we need to resolve. I don't understand where the miscommunication is. I have several emails from Mr. Robichaud's previous counsel, which I don't have with me today, but I can provide to the board, that state that this previous counsel reached out to the conservatory several times regarding these issues. I have emails from Mr. Robichaud's engineer, Jim Susi, that stated, one, he went through the entire report identifying all of the issues that with the order and these issues, some of the issues which I cited in my letter, and stated that he was going to provide a letter to Mr. Getz to fix these issues. Some of which are very simple, but at this point, with these errors in the order, we cannot have this being filed in the Registry of Deeds, especially, I brought up the wetlands issue because the wetlands are specifically not on my client's property. They're actually on the property adjacent. There is a fence and tree lines in between the two parties, and we're not sure why there is an obligation in the order for our clients to maintain wetlands that aren't on their lands. So I'm not sure what the board would like us to do. I have copies of the orders, and I've tabbed and provided where all the errors are that we'd like to have fixed prior to filing this with the registry to be able to start work to finish this project. I can go through all those if you'd like. We're basically just asking for more time because since the last September meeting where you granted this extension to March 5th, there have been some change conditions, i.e. These orders were given, but there are still mistakes in the order that need to be fixed before work can be commenced on the property.
All right, so anything other than the specific correction of a typo on page 2, which is specified by Mr. Getz?
So, can you clarify your question? Sorry, I don't understand.
I don't, there's only one mistake that I'm reading here.
So my understanding of this is that the engineer for Mr. Suzy reached out to Mr. Getz with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 issues on the order. And then some of those issues bleed over into their certificate of compliance.
You know when that was?
When the errors.
When he reached out with the 12 issues?
I have an October 22nd email stating that he was going to send a letter. Mr. Suzy stated to my client stating that he would write a letter to Mr. Getz regarding these 12 issues. We never received a copy of that letter. We only have the word of Mr. Suzy that he sent this letter, and that's why we're also a little confused by this letter from the commission, because as far as we've been known, we've been attempting to reach out to them and have not heard anything. So I don't know if we've got emails wrong, but there seems to be miscommunication.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I comment on that?
Of course, sir.
When you folks were here the last time, there was more talk about problems with the OCC. They weren't getting together with the Conservation Commission. There was this problem and there was that problem. Now you're telling us that an engineer indicated that he was going to send a letter back in October to the commission. You have no copy of the letter. You have only the word of somebody that he was going to send it. Al Getz says that as of December 6th, they sent a letter out, and there's been no response, no inquiry, no effort to straighten out what's going on. And quite frankly, this is, I hate to say it, but I'm sorry, but this is typical of what has gone on with this case for months and years on end. The original application in this case was made January 13, 2005. And it's been going on for years and years and years of continuance after continuance after extension. You folks had the benefit of the 3 or 4 year extension that the legislature enacted that carried it through the mid-teens. And now here we are again, however many months, it's been 6 months, 5 months since our last hearing, and you're still embroiled with the Conservation Commission. No apparent indication that I can see from the presentation that there's any reasonable likelihood that that's going to be ironed out anytime soon. I frankly have come to the point that I honestly think it's time to pull the plug on this project. I mean, I am not at all inclined to grant any further extensions in the matter. I don't see any likely prospect that anything's going to happen on this case.
Sir, if I
It
provided
goes on
to you.
and on and on and on. If we're going to provide things before, I mean, other builders get these things done. John Marini has put up, I don't know how many buildings on Manhattan Street, Avalon, although I don't like the looks of their buildings much, have managed to put up 6 or 7 buildings at their project. And here, what do we have in the interim while that's going on with other builders? Continuing discussions and arguments with the Conservation Commission, and no, in my judgment, from the evidence that I see before us, no truly serious effort to straighten them out. As far as I'm concerned, it's the end of the line. I'm
Sir,
not
if I provided
interested
an
in trying to
affidavit-
rescue this project any further.
If I provided an affidavit from a previous attorney stating that he reached out to the commission several times, on several occasions dating back from October 22nd to December 6th, would that be something that would?
I gotta interject for a minute. First of all, Phil, what Mr. Riley said is basically a reiteration of exactly what I was gonna say. The issue,
Sorry.
no, it's all right. Thank you for saving me the words. Yeah. No, that was, it was, well, the issue is Mr. Suzy's not here.
No, he's not.
Okay, so how do we, I gotta be honest with you, with the fact that he allegedly reached out, and I'm not knocking anybody's credibility here, but if he allegedly reached out back on October the 22nd with 12 alleged issues, and he never gave the client a copy of this?
He did not give he did not give a copy to the client.
Okay, and again, not to question his character or anything of the sort, but how do we have evidence that he actually did it?
I only can go by what the emails that were exchanged back and forth.
And to supplement Mr. Brady's inquiry, why wouldn't Al Getz know about it and mention it in his letter?
May I just take a
If he got
second?
something from him.
So,
He obviously didn't.
The attorney did contact, received an email. They couldn't have a recordable copy back in November, so there was one email that had nothing to do with it.
So my
12
understanding
issues.
is that there was a communication between Mr. Suzie and
right,
Mr.
that
Getz.
was not, I apologize for interrupting. That was just pointed out to me on this chronological order that we received tonight, November 4th, 2018. An email was received requesting a copy of the order of conditions. As applicant's counsel stated, they did not have a recordable copy. Sent email response. So back in, October 22nd was when you guys sent it. On November 4th, there was
An
an
email from the
acknowledgement of
counsel,
it through email.
It does seem to be, but logically, if there was this correction, this one-page correction that corrected the engineer of record, it seems a little odd that Mr. Suzie would correct the engineer of record for that correction page 2 that we got on December 6th and not address the other issues, which he represented to us that he would be telling Mr. Getz. I understand the frustration by the board members at this point. We are feeling the same frustration. We do not understand where the miscommunication was, why this information was not given to Mr. Getz.
Okay, let me follow up on that. The problem, the main issue I have is, it's not a miscommunication, it's a zero communication. If you had 12 issues outlaid to, by Mr. Suzie to the Conservation Committee on October 22nd, you received some type of email on November 4th in response to it, how come nothing's happened between now and March 5th?
My understanding is that the previous attorney in this matter reached out several times until we were literally retained last week. Until last week, the previous attorney, and this is why I'm saying I will gladly get an affidavit from that attorney, he reached out several times. I have several emails that Mr. Robichaud provided to us about them asking questions. Have you heard from the ComCon? Have you heard from Mr. Getz? What's going on with this? And there have been, and I've, at least the
That's
ones
from your client to the previous attorney?
to the previous attorney, I can get, and that's what I was offering, I
What
can
are
get
the answers to that?
that they had reached out and called Mr. Getz, and Mr. Getz had not returned their call
For 4 months?
for 4 months.
Okay. My next question. If it's gonna cost me a fortune, and this is just a hypothetical, why aren't you banging down the guy's door? He works.
I can double check. I can only speak what was reported to me. And what I want to be able to do is to provide you to show that this isn't something that was just let to, like, this, we were under the impression that on that October 22nd email from Mr. Suzie, that he was going to communicate this to Mr. Getz. We received a response on December 6th that just had that single correction about that engineer. Since that December 6th date, their attorney has been emailing the Conservation Committee, calling the Conservation Committee to try and get these other issues fixed. That's the only, I can get this information for you, but this is the first I'm hearing
This
that.
is what you were told, or this is what you've seen?
I've seen emails from the previous council to and from Mr. Getz. I've seen
Who
basically
and from, or to?
2, no response.
Okay.
And this is the first that I have heard from the conservation agent that there was no communication. I'm very surprised by this letter that I received when I walked in today. That he is claiming that there's been no communication about this, where we have been under the impression that we have been trying to speak to him since December 6th about fixing these issues.
Mr. Chair, may I briefly go over
Go
that?
ahead, Scott.
All of the emails that we have notice of between the Conservation Commission and your engineer. You don't know anything about that.
I do not know anything about that.
So the email in November 4th, late November, December 4th, December 5th, January 14th, February 19th.
I do not have any copies.
February 19th, emailed applicant's engineer to confirm ZBA meeting date of March 5th, was instructed to contact the applicant directly. This has been going on for quite some time.
And this is the information that I did not have.
Right. Well, no, I mean, that's fine. Your engineer had it, right?
I tell you what, I mean, I see the position you're in, being new with, recently hired and so forth.
And we are only asking for an extension until when the order expires in the year order. So it's only until October 2nd of this year. We're not asking for,
Right, but as it's been previously stated, this has been going on for almost 14 years.
and at this point, my plea to you would be, what is another 6 months after 14 years?
What is another 6 months? I gotta be honest with you, 14 years, I have a problem with the credibility of the board at this point. To quite frankly, how we've let it go on so far and how many times in the future I'm gonna hear you let case 04,
05.
05,
Not quite that
19
old.
go on for 14 years. Why can't I do it?
Because there were, as you were well aware, extenuating circumstances, lawsuits, there were other situations that went into, that caused this delay, and this made this case a little bit longer than not being the typical. There were so many abutters that needed to be dealt with. There is an adjacent wetlands. This isn't just a typical project.
See, I was told in the past that the problem of the delay and the first continuous extensions was due to the downsizing or the down trend of the housing market.
Well, that was when the project was rescoped. You are correct in that, but there are other delay factors that were outside the control of Mr. Robichaud.
Sure.
I agree with Mr. Brady with respect to your position. I've been in the same position in court and outside of court on any number of occasions, and believe me, I do sympathize with you. It's difficult. But on the other hand, I've dealt with Al Getz. I've been on this board for 40 years. I've dealt with Al Getz, I can't tell you how many years on how many different projects. And if Al Getz tells me in a letter that there has been no attempt by Mr. Robichaud to reach out to the commission to receive advice on whether to proceed under an incorrect OCC or raise any concern in relation to these issues, I'm inclined to believe that Mr. Getz is telling me exactly what happened.
And I would just ask the opportunity, if we could even give me a week, I can provide, I believe I can provide information that would be able to refute that point. I can get an affidavit from their previous attorney. I can reach out to the engineer to get what he actually sent to again, I did not have this walking into this today, so.
I get that.
I was not prepared for
understand
this.
that, but I gotta back up what Mr. Riley said. I do know Al Getz, not very well, but in the few times I have dealt with him, I do get the impression Al Getz is a direct guy. There's usually nothing in it for him. He's just a straight shooter. I don't understand why he wouldn't have gotten back to him. More so, I don't understand why you wouldn't have physically tracked him down. Not you, because I know you just came into the picture, but your client, or Mr. Susie especially, okay? Or the previous attorney. It sounds like the ball was dropped by just about everybody, with the exception of yourself.
So, yes, sir.
Yeah, no, you're doing fine, but unfortunately.
Unfortunately, my doing fine is of no consequence in this meeting for my clients.
Well, I had that situation. It's difficult, I agree with you.
I hear your point. I hear that the board has its own reputation. I understand that. What I'm reading in the tea leaves right now is that given the length of this whole project, that you are not inclined to give us an extension. What I'm wondering right now, while I still have everyone in the room, is there anything that we would be able to do, say, that would allow us to have this extension to finish this project? Would a guarantee, what would make you comfortable with allowing the extension to October?
I think that's gonna be a personal decision for anybody, for everyone rather. So I tell you what, is there anything else you can add to this?
The only thing I would, if you are not, if you are not looking to make the decision today, I would ask that I could keep the record, that we could keep the record open to be able to address the issue that was raised in this letter, because this is very concerning to me, because I do not understand, based upon all of the information that I have been given, why this is the letter that we're getting. So I would like to figure that out. And I'm not trying to impugn anyone's character here. I don't understand where the miscommunication is.
Nor are we, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't wanna grant an extension back in September. I only did it because the majority of the board wanted to do it. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna hear you out if you have anything else to say. I'll hear your client out. And then I'm gonna hear from the board members. We'll go to some audience members if they wanna speak. And I'd like to see a decision tonight myself. So if you have anything else to add, please do so.
The only thing that if the board is interested in hearing it, I do have the errors flagged, the issues that need to be resolved. And then we could go through those if
And
you'd
these are the
like.
errors that were allegedly produced by Mr. Suzie on October 22nd?
Yes,
To Mr. Getz and allegedly one unanswered.
yes.
Okay. Does your client have anything to add?
Do people have any problem, has there been any problem with the Conservation Commission lately that you don't want to tell us about?
With
Is there
who?
any problem
With who?
with the Conservation?
Have we had a problem?
Of the committee?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Do we have a problem with the Conservation Commission?
Has there been any problem with the Conservation Committee? The members?
With whom? If I'm understanding your question, then no. No, not that I know.
My question is, there's several members there. There's no problem with any of them.
Not that I'm aware of, no. I don't understand who would have the problem. Am I have a problem with them, or do we have a
I understand
problem?
there's a problem with two members.
By, who's got the problem?
Two of the members of the Conservation Committee. Two of them. You don't know of any problem with two of the...
I've already answered that question. I know nothing. I mean, if you want to expound without,
I understand there's a problem. It was in the newspaper.
am I missing something?
Yeah.
I'd just like for you to address one more thing, please. I'd just like to know.
Although I don't read that little paper all the time anymore.
2 months, the only issue that they had was the engineer on record. Why would they take up 2 months of fall, bringing him into winter to change an engineer record on, why would it take 2 months during prime construction season to change an engineer?
I will repeat the question, although I'm sure the board, all of it, heard that the minor correction that was not given to the clients until December 2nd, this was requested back in October. Why did, there was no movement on the project, so 2 months was 2 months of construction season was,
But you still had,
That's
you
so
had actually 3 months exactly from when you got a hand-delivered correction until today.
we did not get we did not get the copy of the correction until December 6th. That was when we
Okay.
received.
I have the 5th, but
Yeah.
go with
Yeah,
the
December
6th is
5th or
fine.
6th, so beginning of December. Construction in December is not, the conditions were not conducive to begin construction due to the ground conditions. So, and the correction that was provided did not fix the 12 issues that were still remaining with the order. So that was when the clients went to their attorney and their engineer and was being told by them that this information was being communicated to the commission.
All right, let me tell you one more thing I had. November 4th, 2018, we received an email requesting a copy of the order of conditions as applicant's counsel stated they did not have a recordable copy. Sent email response indicating original was hand-delivered, copy available, no response from the applicant's counsel, which I know wasn't you.
But that, the November 4th would have been, the issue is not the original, it's the correction that was sent in December. And that was the expectation. The expectation was that the December 5th or 6th correction was going to include these issues that had been flagged.
Okay. Mr. Robichaud, you got anything else you want to add? Mrs. Skipta?
I'm just taking it all in here because some of it I find very difficult to see how it could possibly go straight forward. There's just been too much involved and not enough taken care of, and we've been through so much trying to keep this, everything. We've worked hard for you, our committee has. We've done a
I
lot,
agree.
and it hasn't worked out. And I am still not sure of how this is, in what direction we're in at the moment.
Mr. Perry, anything?
Yeah, I have a real problem. We're talking 14 years, I believe, since the applicant came before our board. I've done work from Maine to Florida, and I've never had anything like this keep requesting additional information. And I think I would like to close the hearing, I really would, because if this is going on and on and on for so many years, and we have granted extensions, which we have, and I think now it's time. Nothing's happening, and nothing has happened in such a long time, and I've never seen a project, like I said, that took this long to get approved. I don't know what the issues are, I don't know if it's financial, I don't know what it is, but I think it's, I could not go with, continuing.
She just left. I don't know if she went to the bathroom or what. Does she have anything she wants to say before?
No, she did, she was, I asked that she speak through me today, so, because she was not sitting at the.
What?
I had asked that if she had any questions that I would speak
Uh-huh.
on for her behalf.
No, but I think enough is enough. I mean, the board, we've granted extensions. I mean, this is unbelievable, 14 years.
I know some people that lost their property, everything, buildings that were on it and all. I was fortunate enough to keep on going, okay? It took us a long way to get there. We didn't just walk in here and go get it. We went in there for a long time, time after time after time, until we got it. I think that she should have the opportunity to see how long it took us to get where we started, and then when we got it, the bottom fell out. I couldn't sell a condominium for what I paid to put it up, okay? That's one of my problems. And then it went on, and I tried to put enough money together and to keep on going, to pay the bills, to do it and keep on keeping on. And then we go to you guys, we got an extension, we went to the conservation, we sat down, and we got a 4-year extension. 2 weeks later, I went and visited Mr. Getz, and he said, "Oh, you got a problem." I don't know what happened to the 4-year extension.
Well, all I know is I've done a lot of larger projects, hundreds of units, and they've all gone through the same time schedule. So there is something wrong.
All right, talking about this project, with all due respect, I see fault on Susie's part. I certainly see fault on the previous attorney, okay, which I'm not even gonna get into the fact of why he doesn't represent you anymore. I don't know, nor am I interested, frankly. No disrespect to you, I know you just came on board here, but if there's nothing else from the audience, are you guys good?
I'd point out, Mr. Chairman, that looking at this chronology of events, there's this talk about communications. The emails that followed December 5, as I read this document, all appear to relate to this ZBA meeting of March 5. That's not advancing the problem at all. And in fact, in my mind, tends to confirm Mr. Getz's comment that he didn't hear anything from December 6th.
I agree, I agree with you, I agree with Mr. Riley, that's definitely, there was communication, it just had nothing to do with anything
No.
other than the extension.
So I'm not prepared to grant the extension. I mean, if somebody said, what's gonna happen down the line, I don't know. I mean, you'll have to take it from there and see what you can do. But I mean, with the lapse of the permit, maybe it's a situation where at some point, if you ever get it straightened out, somebody else comes in with a brand-new application for a permit, gives all the people in the vicinity a chance to hear what's going on, to come in, to hear what's going on, to say what, if anything, they want to say, and maybe we go forward at that point. I don't know. But I don't see how we go forward with an extension.
I'll be frank with you again, too. I mean, in reading this chronological thing, which again, I just saw it for the first time tonight, put together by our administrative assistant, your engineer dropped the ball. Your lawyer did too, frankly. Not this fine lady.
Oh, not you.
Okay, but your engineer, no response on January 14th to confirm the ZBA meeting of March 5th. February 19th, applicant's engineer confirmed the meeting of March 5th, was instructed to contact the applicant directly. Okay, no response when we emailed the council to confirm the date on February 21st. February 25th, your daughter finally reached out, well, I'm sorry, I mean finally, I take that back, but your daughter confirmed that they would be in attendance, which I would assume she spoke to the previous attorney, and you parted ways for whatever reason. Now we have a
He
new
wasn't
attorney.
getting any communication, he was calling up the people and they just didn't.
That's what the previous attorney had asserted, that he had called and didn't get any call. But we've stated this.
Right, right. All right, I'm gonna go with what I got. Okay, quite
mean,
honestly, I'll.
I'm not sure that this is a hearing or exactly how we need to proceed with it, but, so I guess I'll phrase the motion that we close the discussion since it's perhaps not a formal hearing.
Okay, motion on the floor to close the discussion regarding a extension
Right.
to case 05-19.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of closing the discussion?
Aye.
All right, 5-0.
I would further suggest that by way of a motion, if we need to do it that way, that the board deny the request for a further extension.
All right, motion on the floor. We'll do it that way to be safe. Motion on the floor to deny the extension on case 0519, seconded by Mr. Perry. All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Sorry, good luck in the future with the project.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Are we off air at this point?
Seeing, yeah, I think we just,
Are we still on air?
do I gotta close?
Oh, okay.
Close the hearing? Yeah,
Well,
we'll-
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
we'll
been saying
close.
good night, I don't know if you
Yeah,
do
good night.
much else.
The hearing is officially closed.